Hi, and welcome to a video recording of social impact projects. We are Fundie Ventures, and we are partnering with Ecole de Ponts Business School to provide the EMBA students with social impact projects. Just as a background to who we are, my name is Stuart. I am South African and one of the founders and partners of Fundie Ventures. And my brief background is that I've had a tech startup in Cape Town, South Africa, which got acquired, and then proceeded to do an MBA at IE Business School, and I also happen to be one of the global shapers from Cape Town.
And I'm Andrew Wong. I'm American. I used to do venture capital back in New York City. And like Stuart, I'm also a global shaper.
Cool. So to kick things off, I just kind of want to give a brief background to who we are and how we operate. But before I start that, just to speak into the why, as to why we started. So both Andy and I are alumni from IE Business School in Spain. I did the MBA and Andy did the Masters in Advanced Finance. And just before starting MBA, I was looking at what the kind of opportunities are to get involved in impact investment and social impact while doing MBA. And because nothing existed at the school at the time, we started Fundie Ventures as a means for MBA students or master students to get involved in like real life hands-on experience with analyzing startups that do good in the world, and specifically look at ones that have a double bottom line, which means as much as they produce revenue and profit, they also have a purpose that is measurable and is aligned to one of the 17 Sustainable Development Goals.
As Stuart mentioned, the goal of what we're trying to achieve is to provide business expertise as MBA students to impactful businesses. So a lot of the companies that we've worked with in the past understand the impact of what they're doing, but may not have the expertise or the best handle on the business model or the market or the competitive analysis. And so that's what we try to provide. So a broad overview of the learning outcomes and what to expect. You'll be working over 70 hours over the stream, and in that 70 hours, you'll learn the venture capital due diligence process. You'll also have a chance to work directly with the founders, and you'll hone your client relationship management skills. And through this course, you'll be doing this in groups of 4 to 5 with your fellow students. The areas of analysis that you'll be conducting are business model analysis, working through the theory of change, the marketing, the strategy, finance, competitive analysis, market research, and risk mapping.
So to get things started, Fundie basically is an impact investment consultancy. We focus on assisting startups to become investment ready. And the kind of startups we work with specifically are ones that are solving some of the world's biggest global challenges at the moment. So we have 3 main stakeholders that form part of our organization. The first kind of 2 are slightly obvious, and that is that we work with startups. We find startups across the world. Our focus mainly for now is around Europe and Africa. And our activity for the startups is that we assess them. We do due diligence, which we'll go into in a second. And the ones that are attractive investments, we source capital on their behalf from our investor partners. And the third stakeholder are partners, and these are organizations that we work with that either support startups or give them resources, or they're just part of the impact investment ecosystem at large. And so between our partners and investors, we do a lot of relationship building, and between our partners and startups, we provide quite a lot of resources. So, for example, we partner with quite a few technology platforms, and we use this for our consultancy with the startups if they need any kind of tech assistance. So there are 3 main functions that we play. The first one is we assess the investment readiness of startups, which means as a normal VC would do, it's due diligence, that it does we do a deep dive analysis into the startups and look at all the main elements within a company. So legal, the social impact, look at the team, we analyze the product and the tech, look at the market and see whether there's a good fit with the market, and then finally do evaluation and a bit of financial modeling. From that, we take that assessment and see what the gaps are that prevents the startup from being investment ready. Normally, we'd find that with small startups, the team doesn't have the full capability to make sure that they can fill all the gaps. So once we discovered any gaps, we offer them consultancy to fill up those gaps, or we just do capacity building within the organization to make sure that they have a strong financial model, or they have a good logistics plan, or a strong strategy to move forward. And then the final part is the actual investment, and there's an investment decision tree that we have, which is quite straightforward. So if the startup is investment ready, it's a yes. We go out and we source capital on their behalf from our investor partners. So we have relationship with quite a few VCs and impact funds and high net worth individuals, and understand what their appetite is towards investment. If they are not investment ready, it's either for one of two reasons: either they're too early, or they have too many gaps. If they have gaps, we offer consultancy, as I mentioned. And if they're too early, we refer them on to one of our growth partners, which are either accelerators or online incubators.
So during the analysis, we will run it over a cycle. So it's the period of time that you as a team will be engaging with the founders and looking at the opportunity and preparing the deliverables. So each team will comprise of between 3 to 5 teammates, and you'll have 12 weeks to complete the process. Each team will be assigned one startup that either will source on your behalf or will give you the tools to source them for yourselves. You'll have throughout the 12 weeks, you'll have a maximum of, or you'll have, a minimum of 9 meetings. Three times you'll meet with the founders, either in person or a call if necessary. And 6 times, so every 2 weeks, you'll meet as a team in order to check, how things are going throughout the process. And then finally, at the end, you'll present 3 deliverables: a due diligence report, you'll have a consultation call, and a presentation. So the process of how everything works at Fundie is first you'll get the startup documents, you'll have the business plan or the pitch deck, and you'll get the financials from the startup. Then you'll have an intro call with the founders to first make acquaintances, and second to get an understanding, to make sure that your understanding of the business is correct. Then you'll do your due diligence on things like the market, on competition. We'll go through that later on what that entails. And then once you have done your research, you'll do a validation call and check are your findings correct. Any other outstanding questions you have for the founders, that's when you'll clarify that. Then finally, after that validation call, you'll do your internal evaluation, which is also where you will decide whether they're investment ready or not and make recommendations. From there, you'll submit all your deliverables. So that will be this due diligence deck, as well as the financial evaluation. And then finally, you'll have an internal presentation to present all your findings to your classmates with your decision on what next steps are. And then after having next steps, whether that's to invest or consult, or there are gaps and suggestions that need to be made, you'll have your wrap-up consultation call with the founders, so that way the takeaways that you have created are passed on to them. So the roles in the team to be assigned is, first, there's somebody who runs the deal. They're the deal lead. Their biggest focus is on the big picture, whether the startup is investment ready or not. Some of their responsibilities are to communicate with the founder. They'll be the point person for the entire process with the founders. They'll set the schedules for the team and make sure everybody is on task. They'll ensure the quality of the deliverables from everybody in the team, as well as help out in their area of expertise or interest. The person who runs the market lead will be focused on the validation of product market fit, the need if the product is actually something that's useful. So they'll also look at the external research of the market's potential, its scalability, competitors, and customer segments. Next, we have the financial lead. They ensure that the business makes sense financially. They'll do a financial analysis. They'll look at the consistency between the business model and the financial model. and they'll question the underlying assumptions in that financial model, and finally they'll do evaluation based on those numbers. And then last we have the operations lead. So they'll be assessing whether the business can meet its milestones. They'll be doing research on the team strategy, on the process and tools that are implemented, and create suggestions for improvement on the operations, as well as doing a legal assessment. So the startups that you'll be working with, they're all impact startups, meaning that they are a business, they have a business model, and they're profitable, and they have a social mission or environmental mission that's core to what they do. So what we've used is the UN Sustainable Development Goals as a framework. So we work with companies that achieve one of these targets, one of these goals. So they make an impact through the products that they do or through donations or dividends. They have a market over 10,000 people, and we work with early stage startups. We try to help them bridge the valley of death, which is this stage before profitability. So we look for companies that have an early stage minimum viable product, that are seeking either pre-seed or seed stage investment, which is anywhere between 50,000 and 500,000 euros, and have market traction already. So startups that we have currently in our portfolio, this is just a sampling. These are some of the startups that we've already worked with. So for example, Kamaya is a drone-based startup that helps agricultural efficiencies and using less water, less fertilizer, and managing agriculture in a more sustainable way. MyCrowd, for example, is they're a startup that is a microfinance institution. They work with women in Nicaragua and help them get themselves out of poverty. And Aura is a sustainable water company. So I'll look in depth at one of the companies we've analyzed. Here we have Aqua Abib. What they do, or their social proposition, is they have low cost, low energy water distillation and water purification. And why that's interesting is because in very arid climates and with climate change, having drinkable potable water is becoming a scarce resource. The value proposition is that they're able to desalinize water at lower cost than competitors, things like traditional desalination or reverse osmosis. So their market potential is they hold several patents already, which encompasses 90% of the world's market. And the market that they're looking for is typically around the equator, which is limited to hot, sunny locations. And then later on, they'll move to markets that are addressing just normal distillation. And so their current situation is they've already secured an EU grant, and they're currently looking for their next stage of funding through VCs. So what we've helped them do is done their analysis, and we helped them walk through the process as described before to help them become ready to talk to VCs. So what you'll get in working through the project is the organizational structure and a toolbox. So for deal sourcing, we have the resources you'll need to help look for first where to find startups, and then the process to go out and actually get them signed up and help them do the analysis. Then you have the consultation and due diligence. So we have a deck which will help guide you through all of the key points that you'll need to do your due diligence on. Then value creation, essentially the question we're answering here is how do we help the startup? So whether that's, as Stuart mentioned before, capacity building, or whether that is just going out and looking for financing. And then finally, management and communication tools. So we've partnered with HubSpot, which helps us track all of our communications with founders, and we have internal communications using Slack and a variety of others as well. With an onboarding, we'll have a checklist to get you everything that you'll need to get ready, whether that's signing up to HubSpot or Slack or Google Drive or what have you. Then we have some additional training resources which will help you if you are not strongest on valuation. That we have resources for that as well. And then optional learning opportunities for anybody interested to continue learning about social impact, about measurement, etc. Like I mentioned before, we partnered with several tech platforms like HubSpot, Asana, and Airtable. We also have a partnership with Impact Alpha, which is a news outlet for impact news, and Evolution Europe, which is a grant writing partner. So the benefits to working with Fundie is it's valuable real-world hands-on experience. You'll be actually working with founders. You'll be providing suggestions that they will take to heart and will actually implement in their businesses. And a lot of the founders who are working on social impact have the impact side down, but their business acumen or the business side is not as strong. And so that's where you'll come in. It's also a great resume builder. It's something that in your interview will differentiate you from somebody who has a very, clear-cut sort of, if you have a path towards consulting or a path towards investment banking, this is something that's different and yet related to either of those career tracks. And then lastly, you become a member of Fundie alumni community, which allows students to expand your network to other like-minded students across Europe.
Cool. So thank you very much for watching our video presentation. We hope that it kind of answered all your questions. If you do have any other questions, you could pop me an email. My email address is at the bottom of the slide, or visit our website and have a look at a bit more in depth of the work that we do. So the next steps would be, if you are interested in taking on any one of the social impact projects that we mentioned as part of your projects, please let Saman know. And once everybody has given their input, he will let us know who or how many of you would like to join, and we would do a video call with you, everyone together, to explain exactly what the next steps are, how to go through the onboarding process, allocate the deals that we have, or show you how to find your own. And Andy and myself will be kind of hand-holding and managing the process with you throughout the period of the 12 weeks. So yeah, that's the end of it. Thank you, and we'd like to hear from you soon.